Hello viewers, in this video we are going to first review the URL routing basics. We've covered this ground before. Next, we will implement dynamic URLs for the product detail page. While we previously saw how to form a dynamic URL using the database ID field, we will now learn the more advanced and SEO-friendly method of using the Slug field. Following this, we will focus on navigation. Specifically, we're going to add a functional global navigation bar to our entire website using the Bootstrap framework. Finally, we will dedicate time to styling our product detail page using Bootstrap. So, please watch the video without skipping a single part, as every step builds upon the last. Okay, let's start with a review of the URL routing basics. To clearly understand this concept, I'm going to close all currently open files in VS Code now. I will also minimize the folders on the side panel for better screen visibility.
First, I'm opening the urls.py file located in our project's main folder. As you can see here, Django uses the URL patterns list object for managing all URL routing. By default, this list includes the necessary configuration for the admin path. We primarily use two essential functions to build our routing system: the path function and the include function. The path function is used to define a URL pattern and map it directly to a specific Python view function. The include function is used to delegate routing to another urls.py file, which is exactly how we linked the urls.py from our product application here. Now, I'm opening the urls.py file inside the product's app itself. In this file, we have already defined the specific URLs required for our product pages and mapped each of them to its corresponding view function in views.py. This clear, modular structure is how Django efficiently handles URL routing across different applications. Next, let's move on to implementing dynamic URLs. If you examine the URLs we've already defined, you'll see the product list page uses a static URL because it simply needs to display a single comprehensive page of all products. However, the product detail page requires a dynamic URL. This is because every single product needs its own unique identifiable link. We previously achieved this using int pk, which pulled the product's primary key, ID. Therefore, we are going to upgrade our system to use the Slug field, which is much more descriptive and search engine friendly. To implement this, I'm going to copy the existing product detail URL path definition and paste it directly below the original. In the new path, I'm replacing the type converter int::pk with the slug::slug type converter. I must also change the name of the view function this path maps to, and I'll update the path's unique identifier name to product_detail_slug as well. Now, I need to import this new product_detail_slug view from views.py. I'm saving the urls.py file. I'm opening views.py inside the product app. I'm going to copy the entire body of the existing product detail view and paste it below. I'm changing the function name to product_detail_slug. As dictated by our new path definition, this view must accept the slug string as an argument, so I'm updating the function signature accordingly. Most importantly, I'm updating the database query to find the product. I'm saving the views.py file. Now, this slug field is not yet a functional part of our database schema. The slug field doesn't exist in our database yet. To confirm this, I'm opening the database viewer and navigating to the products_product table. As you can see, there is no slug field column present. Currently, we are using the ID field to form our dynamic URLs. To implement SEO-friendly URLs, we need to create a dedicated slug field in our models.py file. This slug field will essentially mirror the name field in our model, creating URL-friendly versions of our product names. I'll place the new field directly after the existing name field. Here, slug is the name of the database column we are creating. Since the slug will be derived from the product name, I'm setting a suitable length, max length, equals 200. Because this field will serve as a unique identifier for URL access, I must enforce its uniqueness by setting unique equals true. However, since we already have data in the database, attempting to set unique equals true right now will halt the migration process. Therefore, I will temporarily set none null equals true. To resolve the unique constraint error, we need to follow 3 steps. First, add null equals true to the field and run make migrations and migrate. Next, populate the null column with data, either through the admin panel or the Django shell. Using the Django shell allows us to update data programmatically, which is especially suitable for handling large datasets efficiently. Finally, change null equals true to unique equals true and run the migrations again. Next, I'm setting blank equals true to allow the field to be created and then populated. The blank equals true argument specifically allows us to leave the field empty when saving or updating a record in the Django admin panel, which we will use to populate the existing records.
To automatically generate the slug from the product name whenever a product is saved, we need to create a save function in our model.
This save function will also handle scenarios where the user leaves the slug field blank. This save function is inherited from Django's model class, and we're overriding it to customize its behavior according to our specific needs.
I'm typing def save self *args ** keywords. Inside the function, we check if not self.slug, that is, the slug field is currently empty. If it is empty, we proceed to generate the slug from the product name. So I'm typing self.slug. As we discussed earlier, this slug will serve as an SEO-friendly URL for our product pages. Remember, this slug is derived from the name field. We are converting the product name into a URL-friendly format. Therefore, I'm using self.name. To convert the raw name string into a URL-friendly slug, we first need to import the slugify function from Django.
By using the slugify function, we can keep our URLs neat, clean, and consistent.
I'm typing from Django.utils.text import slugify at the top of the file. Now, inside the save function, I set self.slug equal to the result of slugify self.name. Finally, we must ensure the changes are saved by calling the parent class's save method, super.save *args ** keywords.
To save time, I'll copy and paste the code.
I'm saving the models.py file.
Once the changes are saved, we are ready to proceed with the migrations.
We can now run the migration commands. I'm opening a split terminal. I'm typing python manage.py make migrations and executing it. The migration file is successfully created, including the slug field definition. Next, I type python manage.py migrate and execute it to apply the changes to the database. Once the migrations are complete, we can check our database. You should now see the new slug column in the products table.
Now, I'm going to demonstrate how the automatic slug generation works. Since our server is already running, I'm navigating to the admin panel. I'm opening the Samsung product record. The slug field is currently empty. However, because we defined the save function in our model, it should automatically populate this field when we save the record. I'm entering a descriptive name, for example, Samsung Mobile, in the name field, and saving. An error has been thrown. The exception type is type error. This is likely a minor error in the code which we can now identify and fix. I'm navigating back to VS Code to inspect the models.py file and fix the error. This error occurred in the post method, which is responsible for saving our data. I misspelled the args argument as args, so I'll correct that by removing the extra r. Also, there's no need to explicitly pass self in this context, so I'll remove that argument as well.
I made a small mistake while copying and pasting the code.
Let me fix that.
I'm saving and refreshing the admin page. Now, when I save the Samsung Mobile record, it saves successfully, and the slug is automatically generated in the slug field from the name. I'm clicking the back button and will now apply the same update to the Apple laptop record. I'll change its name from Apple to Apple Laptop. Click the Save button. The URL for the Apple record will now update successfully. After saving, Open the Apple record again to see the changes. I'm now demonstrating that you can also manually edit the slug if needed. For instance, changing Apple_laptop to Apple_laptop Air. I'm saving this change and it persists. The manual URL updates are now working correctly.
With all existing products now having a slug, we can revert our temporary fix and make the slug column unique. I'm changing null equals true back to unique equals true in models.py. Running the migrations commands will now alter our slug column to have a unique constraint. Keep in mind that to do this, we need to populate the empty URL field. I did this manually through the admin panel because I only have 2 records. However, if you have a large dataset, you should use the Django shell. First, run the shell, then execute the code I'm displaying now. You can also find a detailed guide for this on my blog. I'm saving and running migrations one last time. I'm typing python manage.py make migrations and executing it. When prompted for the default value for existing records, which we have already manually populated, I enter 2 to skip the prompt and execute the migration. Next, I type python manage.py migrate and execute it. The slug column is now updated with the necessary unique constraint. Now, let's test our website. When you click through to a product detail page, the URL will still be based on the product ID. The reason is that we still need to modify our template to generate links using the slug. I'm opening productlist.html. Next, we update the product links in our templates to use the new slug path. To avoid any typing errors, I'll copy and paste the exact pattern we already defined in urls.py, change the argument in the URL function from the product ID to product.slug. The link text is currently displayed in an improper format. To fix this, I'll simplify it and just use goToProduct. I'm saving and refreshing the browser. Now, if we open the laptop product page, we can see the new slug-based URL. Returning to the list and opening the Samsung mobile product shows that its URL has also been successfully updated to use a slug. This slug-based URL structure is better for SEO optimization, significantly increasing the chances of better search engine rankings.
Search engines favor slug-based URLs.
So far, we've covered how to create a slug field and how to handle a unique field constraint within the same model.
Similarly, if you manually enter the product ID in the URL, it will still work because we haven't deleted the ID-based view. You can choose to remove that view if you want to enforce slug-only URLs. Okay, next, we'll add a navigation bar to our website. I'm opening the Bootstrap documentation and looking under the Components section for the navbar. I'm copying the standard navbar code provided in the documentation. In VS Code, I'm creating a new file named navbar.html in the Global Templates folder and pasting the code into it. Now, I need to include this navbar.html within our base.html so that the navigation bar appears consistently on all pages. I'm opening base.html. If you haven't set up base.html yet, please watch the previous video on configuring static files and templates. Above the block content tag, I'm using the efficient Django template tag include/navbar.html to insert the component. Please verify that the file is correctly named navbar.html. I'm saving and refreshing the website. The basic navbar is now applied, sitting just above our main content. To get a clear, unobstructed view of the navbar, I'm now closing the Developer Tools panel. To make it clearly visible and on-brand, I'm going to change the theme to dark mode and update the links. I'm opening navbar.html. I'm changing the class BGLight to BGDark and navbarLight to navbarDark. This class changes the navbar from light mode to dark. I'm changing the website name to My Shop. I'm changing the home link to Products and setting its URL to the Product List page URL tag. For the navigation link, I'm copying the URL function tag from productdetail.html, removing the dummy hashtag placeholder, and pasting the copied URL tag in its place. I'm saving and refreshing the browser. The navbar now has a dark theme and all links are fully functional. Clicking My Shop or Products in the navigation correctly directs us to the product list page. You can link to different pages, such as a branding page. For learning purposes in this tutorial, I am linking it to the product list page, or PLP. We can still add many more modifications and functionality to the navbar.
Features like the shopping cart, wish list, user profile, and account management will be covered in future videos.
Next, we'll focus on styling the product detail page to resemble a professional e-commerce layout. First, I'll navigate to VS Code and open the productdetail.html file. I'm starting by adding a main container div with the Bootstrap class container and the utility class my2 for vertical margin. This div will wrap the entire page content to provide proper structure and spacing. I'm creating the image section first. I'll add an image tag. To populate it, I'll copy the dynamic URL logic from our product list.html template and paste it here. This will correctly set the image's src attribute to the product's image. Then I'll copy the alt text from the existing product name tag to ensure proper accessibility. For styling, I'm adding several Bootstrap classes: Image Fluid to make the image responsive, Rounded for soft corners, and Shadow to add a subtle drop shadow for depth. Next, I'll create the product information section. This is where the product details will go. First, I'll copy the product name from our existing H1 tag and place it here. Directly below that, I'll display the price. I'll use an H3 tag with the Bootstrap class text success to make the price stand out in green. Inside this tag, I'll set the price dynamically using product.price and prefix it with the Indian rupee symbol. You can find this symbol via a quick web search or insert it directly if your keyboard supports it.
I already have the Indian rupee symbol copied to my clipboard, so I'll insert it here.
Now let's implement the crucial stock availability logic. I'll start by adding a p tag with the Bootstrap margin class mt-2 for spacing. When it comes to stock display, you may have noticed that many e-commerce websites use different colors, often green for available stock and red for out-of-stock items, to provide clear visual cues to users. Inside this, I'll add a strong tag with the text stock. Here comes the conditional logic using Django's template tags. I'll write if product.stock is greater than 0 to check for available inventory. Then I'll add an else tag for the opposite case, and finally close the conditional block with end if. If the condition is true, stock is available, I'm now adding a span tag. The text will be in stock open paren. Before that, I'm now adding a class text success to display the text in green. Finally, for the inner text, I'll add the actual stock count using the Django variable product.stock. If the condition is false, stock is 0, I'll display a red span containing the text out of stock with the class text danger. The stock field logic is now complete successfully. Below the stock information, I'm adding an Add to Cart button. I'm typing the button tag with the text Add to Cart. This button allows users to add a product to their cart, so Add to Cart is a clear and appropriate label. I'll add Bootstrap classes, BTN, BTN LG for a large button, BTN primary to make it a prominent blue color, and MT-2 to make top margin by 2. Finally, I'll add the product description. This product description will hold all the detailed information about the product. I'm typing a p tag and adding the description dynamically, product.description. You can also add a reviews and comments section below the description if you'd like to include user feedback functionality. I'm adding classes MT-3, which is margin top, like text muted for subdued color, If you want the description to stand out, you can style it further as you wish. For now, I'll keep it simple by adding the text muted class for a subtle gray color. And setting the font size using inline CSS, font size equals 1.1 rem. I'm also saving the file. We have now completed the styling of our product detail page using Bootstrap. I can comment out the older, unstyled elements. Finally, I'll save the file, return to the website, and refresh the page. We encounter an error related to the endif tag. To fix it, I'm navigating back to VS Code. I see an extra space between end and if in the tag. I'll remove that space, save the file, and refresh the website again. The page now loads successfully. However, the image is still not styled properly. We will fix that shortly. Our next step is to implement a Bootstrap grid layout to properly arrange the image and the product details side by side. I have the official Bootstrap website open and have clicked the Grid link under the Layout section. This grid system is based on a 12-column structure, which we'll use to arrange our elements. Specifically, we'll split the row into 2 equal halves. The image will occupy 6 columns on the left, and the product details will occupy the remaining 6 columns on the right. To implement this, I'm returning to VS Code. I'll close the terminals for better screen visibility. The first step is to wrap all the content we've created inside a grid row. I'll add an opening div with the class row, then I'll place the corresponding closing div tag at the bottom, after all the elements within our main container. As planned, the image will be in a 6-column section on the left, and the product details will be in a separate 6-column section on the right. To achieve this, we will now wrap the image tag in one column div and wrap all the product details tags in another column div. Both of these column divs will be placed inside the main row div we just created. I'm creating the first column by typing .col and pressing Enter to generate the div. I'll wrap the image tag properly within this div. Next, I'll create a second column div the same way. I'll wrap all the product information tags within this second div. Finally, I'll also wrap the product description with. Now, I'll update the classes for better control. I'll change the image div's class from call to call/md/6. I'll do the same for the product info div, changing its class to call/md/6. The description will automatically take up the full 12 columns, so no change is needed there. I'll save the file and refresh the website. The image isn't aligning properly. This is likely a small typo. I'll return to VS Code and inspect the image tag. I found that the class attribute was misspelled. I'll correct that error. After saving the file and refreshing the website again, our product detail page is now correctly aligned, with the image on the left and the product information on the right. There's a small design improvement to make. I'll move the PLP navigation link inside the main container and change its text to the clearer Go to Products. I'll save the file and refresh the website, and the updated link now looks better, and clicking it correctly navigates us to the product list page. Now, let's open the Samsung product page. Its design looks good. Here, the stock shows 100 in green. Let's test the out-of-stock condition. I'll go to the admin panel and update this product's stock quantity to 0. Then save the changes. Returning to the website and refreshing the page, we can now see the stock status correctly displays out of stock in red. Finally, a small tip for front-end responsiveness using Bootstrap. Let's verify our website's responsiveness. The easiest way is to use the browser's developer tools. When we expand the responsive viewport and adjust the page size, we can see the content adapt. You can test responsiveness in several ways, such as using the browser's viewport tools or third-party applications. However, on the product list page, when we shrink the viewport, the product cards begin to overlap. To fix this, I'll return to VS Code and open product_list.html. Currently, the column div uses colMD4, which creates 3 columns on medium and larger. I'll change this class to col.auto. After saving and refreshing, the PLP layout now looks correct. The col.auto class allows the columns to adjust their width automatically based on the content in the available screen space. This principle of adjusting layout based on screen size is controlled by breakpoints. If we open the Bootstrap documentation and navigate to breakpoints under the layout section, we can see the different device categories like extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large, along with their dimensions and corresponding CSS rules. By understanding and applying these breakpoints, we can build a website that responds gracefully to any device, ensuring our layout remains structured and never collapses, no matter how it's viewed. We have now reached the end of this video. In our next session, we will dive into the user authentication workflow. We'll learn how to implement sign-up, login, and logout functionality using Django's powerful built-in authentication system. We'll style all the forms with Bootstrap for a clean, modern look, integrate authentication links like login and logout into our navigation bar, and use the @login_required decorator to secure specific views, ensuring only logged-in users can access them. I look forward to continuing this journey with you in the next video. If you liked this video, please like, share, and comment. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video.